1 Kings 7. But Solomon was building his own house 13 years, and he finished all his house. He built also the house of the forest of Lebanon. The length thereof was 100 cubits, and the breadth thereof 50 cubits, and the height thereof 30 cubits upon 4 rows of cedar pillars with cedar beams upon the pillars, and it was covered with cedar above upon the beams that lay on 35 pillars, 15 in a row. And there were windows in 3 rows, and light was against light in 3 ranks. And all the doors of the and all the doors and the posts were square.
Square.
With the windows, and light was against light in 3 ranks. And he made a porch of pillars. The length thereof was 50 cubits, and the breadth thereof 30 cubits, and the porch was before them, and the other pillars and the thick beam were before them. Then he made a porch for the throne, where he might judge, even the porch of judgment, and it was covered with cedar from one side of the floor to the other. And his house where he dwelt had another court within the porch, which was of the like work Solomon made also. An house for Pharaoh's daughter, whom he had taken to wife, like unto this porch. All these were of costly stones, according to the measures of hewed stones, saved.
Sod.
With saws, within and without, even from the foundation unto the coping, and so on the outside toward the great court. And the foundation was of costly stones, even great stones of 10 cubits, and stones of 8 cubits, and above were costly stones after the measures of hewed stones and cedar. And the great court round about was with 3 rows of hewed stones, and a row of cedar beams both for the inner court of the house of the Lord, and for the porch of the house. And King Solomon sent and fetched Hiram out of Tyre. He was a widow's son of the tribe of Naphtali, and his father was a man of Tyre, and a worker in brass. And he was filled with wisdom and understanding and cunning to work all works in brass. And he came to King Solomon and wrought all his work, for he cast 2 pillars of brass of 18 cubits high apiece, and a line of 12 cubits did compass either of them about. And he made 2 chapiters of molten brass to set upon the tops of the pillars. The height, uh, height, height, height
height,
of the one chapiters, chapiters, chapiter was 5 cubits, and the height of the other chapiter was 5 cubits, and nets of checker work and wreath, wreaths, wreaths,
wreaths,
wreath of chain work for the chapiters, which were upon the top of the pillars, 7 pillars, 7 for the one chapiters and 7 for the other chapiters, and he made the pillars and 2 rows round about upon the one network to cover the chapiters that were upon the top with pomegranates, and so did he for the other chapiters, and the chapiters that were upon the top of the pillars were of lily work in the porch 4 cubits, and the chapiters upon the 2 pillars had pomegranates also above, over against the billy which was by the network, and the pomegranates were 200 in rows round about upon the other chapiters, and he set up the pillars in the porch of the temple, and he set up the right pillars and called the name thereof Jechin, and he set up the left pillar and called the name thereof Boaz, and upon the top of the pillars was lily work. So was the work of the pillar finished, and he made a molten sea 10 cubits from the one brim to the other. It was round all about, and his height was 5 cubits, and a line of 30 cubits did compass it round about, and under the brim of the round about there were knobs compassing it 10 in a cubit, compassing the sea round about. The knobs were cast in 2 rows. When it was cast. It stood upon 12 oxen, 3 looking toward the north, and 3 looking toward the west, and 3 looking toward the south, and 3 looking toward the east, and the sea was set above upon them, and all their hinder parts were inward, and it was an hand breadth thick, and the brim thereof was wrought like the brim of a cat with flowers of lilies, lilies. It contained 2,000 baths, and he made 10 bases of brass. 4 cubits was the length of one base, and 4 cubits the breadth thereof, and 3 cubits the height of it, and the work of the bases was on this manner. They had borders, and the borders were between the ledges. Ledges. And on the borders that were between the ledges were lions, oxen, and cherubims. And upon the ledges there was a base above, and beneath the lions and the oxen were certain additions made of thin work, and every base had 4 brazen wheels and plates of brass, and the 4 corners thereof had under setters. Under the lever were under setters molten at the side of every edition, and the mouth of it within the chapiters and above was a cubit, but the mouth was round after the work of the base a cubit and half, and also upon the mouth of it were gravings with their borders for square, not round. And under the borders were 4 wheels, and the axletrees of the wheels were joined to the base, and the height of a wheels was a cubit and half a cubit, and the work of the wheels was like the work of a chariot wheel. Their axletrees and their names and their fellows and their spokes were all molten, and there were 4 undersetting to the 4 corners of one base, and the undersetting were of the very base itself, and in the top of the base was there a round compass of half a cubit high, and on the top of the base the ledges thereof and the border thereof were of the same, for on the plates of the ledges thereof and on the borders thereof he graved cherubims, lions, and palm trees according to the proportion of every one, and additions round about. After this manner he made the 10 bases. Of all them had one casting, or one measure and one size. Then made he 10 lavers of brass. One lavers contained 40 baths, and every laver was 4 cubits, and upon every one of the 10 bases 1 laver, and he put 5 bases on the right side of the house and 5 on the left side of the house, and he set the sea on the right side of the house eastward over against the south, and Hiram made the levers
Lavers.
and the shovels and the basins. So Hiram made an end of doing all the work that he made King Solomon for the house of the Lord. The two pillars and the two bowls of the chapiters that were on the top of the two pillars and the two networks to cover the two bowls of the chapiters which were upon the top of the pillars, and 400 pomegranates for the two networks, even 2 rows of pomegranates for one network to cover the two bowls of the chapiters that were upon the pillars, and the 10 bases and the 10 levers on the base, and 1 sea and 12 oxen under the sea, and the pots and the shovels and the basins and all these vessels which Hiram made to the king Solomon for the house of the Lord were of bright brass. In the plain of Jordan did the king cast them in the clay ground between Sukkot and Zarzan, and Solomon left all the vessels unweighed, because they were exceeding many, neither was the weight of the brass found out. And Solomon made all the vessels that pertained unto the house of the Lord, the altar of the gold, and the table of the gold were upon the shewbread was, and the candlestick of pure gold, 5 on the right side and 5 on the left before the oracle, with the flowers and the lamps of the tongues of gold, and the bowls and the snuffers, and the basins and the spoons and the censers of pure gold, and the hinges of gold, both for the door of the inner house, the most holy place, and for the door of the house to wit of the temple. So was and that all the work that King Solomon made for the house of the Lord. And Solomon brought in the things which David his father had dedicated, even the silver and the gold and the vessel did he put among the treasures of the house of the Lord. Treasures.